All right, so we've got a ton of stuff to get through today about this Arsenal-West Brom match.
Yeah, it looks like a wild one.
It does. Everyone's been sending us articles and commentary, and yeah, it just sounds like a really intense Premier League match. So we're here to break it all down.
For sure.
Why is everyone talking about it, and what it could mean for, the title race this season. So
Yeah.
buckle up.
Huge implications.
Let's deep dive straight into the pitch now.
Absolutely.
You're obviously intrigued, or you wouldn't be here, right? Maybe you're an Arsenal fan, maybe you're just a huge Premier League fan, or maybe you're just like, what is all this controversy everyone's talking about? So
Yeah, big talking points for sure.
let's get into it.
Well, the first thing everyone is talking about is this red card for Arsenal's Miles Lewis-Skelly.
Yeah.
He's only 18 years old.
Wow.
Just a handful of Premier League starts under his belt. And now suddenly he's at the heart of this huge debate.
It's wild, right? Like, you see this young player who makes a tackle early in the match and boom, red card.
Yeah, and just for our listeners who maybe aren't super familiar with the ins and outs of football, a red card means that player is ejected from the game.
Oh, did there.
So his team has to play with one fewer player for the rest of the match, which you can imagine has a huge impact on the game.
It's a big deal.
But the real question is, was it a justified red card? Was this a reckless challenge that deserved a straight red for serious foul play? Or was it a harsh call?
Yeah.
Should it have just been a yellow card, a warning?
Right.
And there are really good arguments on both sides of this, and it just highlights how subjective refereeing can be, even with VAR these days.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful for maybe our listeners who aren't, totally familiar with all the terminology.
Sure.
VAR is basically like having another set of eyes on the game, right? So the referees can actually look at replays and make sure that they're getting the calls right. But even with VAR, there's still room for debate, like we're seeing in this case.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, the referee and the VAR officials determined that, yeah, it was a red card offense, but many commentators and even West Brom's own manager disagreed with that decision.
Oh, wow.
Saying that the tackle wasn't fast or forceful enough to justify a red card.
Yeah.
They argued that it was a tactical foul, something that you see all the time in professional football.
Right. Like Steve Nicol, the former Liverpool player, came out and was like, this is just a classic professional foul. And even suggested that there might be some kind of Arsenal connotation bias going on in the decision, basically implying that maybe because of Arsenal's reputation, the officials were a little bit tougher on them.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty bold claim.
Yeah, it is. And I think that brings up a really interesting point, too, about whether, bias, conscious or unconscious, plays a role in these refereeing decisions. Mm-hmm. It's not something we can definitively answer here, but it's worth thinking about for sure.
Yeah, definitely something to ponder. And then on the other side of that, you have Jamie Carragher, who's another super well-respected pundit, and he completely disagrees with Nicole. Right.
And he insists that Lewis-Skelly 100% went for the player and was actually concerned about, what kind of precedent would this set if you allow tackles like that to go unpunished?
Yeah, you have these really experienced football figures.
Yeah.
Who completely disagree, and I think it shows just how complex and nuanced this situation is.
Yeah, it really makes you think about, what is a serious foul?
Yeah, where's the line?
What are the referees thinking about in that split second?
Yeah, what factors do they have to consider?
Yeah.
And, these decisions have huge impact on the game and the players, even the fans. It's a big deal.
Yeah, totally. And then to make things even more complicated, there was another red card in this match this time, given to West Brom's Shia Gomez.
Yeah, so he picked up 2 yellow cards, the second one coming from a tackle on an Arsenal player. And just as a reminder, 2 yellow cards equals a red card.
Exactly.
And again, we've got people debating whether this was the right call.
Right.
Some are arguing it should have been a straight red.
Meaning the tackle was so bad, he should have been sent off immediately. And I think this potential inconsistency across both of these red card incidents is what's really fueling the debate here.
Yeah, it's like, are the referees being too strict, too lenient, just completely inconsistent? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and you bring in the coaching aspect of it.
Right.
And it gets even more interesting.
Totally.
Because West Brom's manager actually admitted that he warned Gomez at halftime after that first yellow card. So now we're wondering, should he have substituted Gomez just to avoid that risk of him getting a second yellow and being sent off?
Yeah. Hindsight is 20/20, but it definitely adds another layer of complexity to this whole thing.
Oh, for sure. Lots of what ifs.
Yeah. What if the manager had taken Gomez out? Would that have changed the outcome of the match for West Brom? Would they have been able to hold on for a win or a draw?
Yeah, it really makes you think about what's going through that manager's head
Yeah.
in these high-pressure moments.
Yeah.
They have so many things to consider.
Oh, yeah.
And one decision can totally change the entire course of the game.
Totally. So we've got 2 pretty controversial red cards, some interesting coaching decisions going on. This all sounds pretty chaotic.
Because.
But here's where it gets really impressive. Even though they had to play with only 10 guys for most of the match, Arsenal still managed to win?
1-0.
1-0. Yeah. You really got to give them credit. I mean, that takes serious resilience.
Yeah, they had to dig deep, for sure.
Yeah.
Think about it. They had that early red card and a tough opponent and all this pressure to perform.
Right, and they didn't let it get to them.
No, they didn't.
They just kept pushing and pulled out a win. I mean, that says a lot about their character, their belief in themselves.
And I think their manager, Mikel Arteta, deserves a lot of credit for that, too. His comments after the match really highlighted this. They were focused on attacking even though they were down a man.
It's kind of interesting, right? Like, instead of just trying to play defense and hold on for a draw, they just kept pushing forward, looking for those chances to score.
Yeah, which is bold when you're down a man.
Yeah, totally. And it's risky.
Risky for sure. But in this case, it paid off. They didn't let that red card completely change their game plan.
Yeah, they stuck with it.
And ultimately it led to victory.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, how much of this comes down to just individual player talent versus like the team's overall strategy and their mentality,
Yeah, probably a mix of both, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't like a walk in the park either. From what I understand, like early in the second half, there were some pretty tense moments.
Oh, yeah.
Arsenal had some great chances that they just barely miss.
I bet you were on the edge of your seat watching that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It sounds like it was a pretty intense match. And then Riccardo Calafiori comes in as a substitute.
He is the substitute.
And scores this like crazy winning goal. I mean, some of the descriptions of this goal from the commentators are incredible.
Amazing.
A wonderful finish. Real hard skill. Like,
it was a beautiful goal.
It was a game changer.
Total game changer.
Yeah.
And it also, brings up this whole other element of football, which is the impact of substitutions.
Yeah.
Sometimes just bringing in that fresh player can totally change the dynamics of the match.
It's almost like a chess move.
Yeah.
The manager's always watching, trying to figure out the right moment to make a change that'll give their team an advantage. And in this case, Arteta nailed it with Calafiori.
It is a brilliant move.
For sure. But, this goal wasn't just important for the match itself. It had some big implications for, the overall Premier League title race.
Oh, absolutely. With this win and Liverpool's failure to win their match.
Right.
Suddenly, Arsenal are at the top of the table.
Which is huge.
Yeah, major statement win for them. They overcame all that adversity. They showed how resilient they are. And now they're in first place.
It's pretty amazing, but, the season's far from over.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of football left to play.
Still a long way to go.
Plenty of twists and turns coming, I'm sure.
I think
that's what makes the Premier League so great, though, right? It's just so unpredictable.
Oh, for sure. You never know what's going to happen next.
Keeps you on your toes.
Exactly. And this win definitely puts Arsenal in a good spot.
Yeah.
It shows they have what it takes to compete at the top.
Yeah. Totally. But then this has sparked another debate, Do Arsenal need to make some moves in the January transfer window to really solidify their squad? Specifically, do they need to go out and get a new striker?
$1 million question.
Yeah, on one hand, they're in first place.
Right, they're doing something, right?
So clearly things are working. They've got a talented team. They can score goals.
Right, but you have to wonder if another top-quality striker would give them that extra edge. Yeah, especially as the season goes on and the pressure just keeps mounting.
Yeah, more depth, more competition, potentially even more goals.
More firepower, for sure.
It's a tough call for them.
It is.
Do they stick with the guys who brought them this far, or do they shake things up a bit?
It's about finding that balance.
Right.
Between, the squad that got you here.
Yeah.
And potentially needing to make a strategic move to improve your title chances. What would you do?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. Such a tricky decision. There's no easy answer.
Yeah.
You have to think about the financial cost of signing a new player and then weigh that against what they could bring to the team.
For sure.
It's a gamble either way.
It is.
But that's why the transfer window is so exciting.
Oh, it's the best.
Just to never know what's going to happen.
So much speculation.
All the rumors. And then sometimes you get a team that just pulls off a surprise move that totally changes everything. Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have.
Like from those red cards and the coaching decisions to that incredible goal. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about a roller coaster.
It was.
And it really gets you thinking about like the game itself.
Yeah, I think we touched on a lot of really interesting points.
Yeah.
The whole subjective nature of refereeing, the impact of VAR, those split-second decisions that managers have to make, and even the potential for bias, conscious or unconscious.
Yeah, it's crazy how just one game can bring up all these different things.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just goes to show, football, you never know what's going to happen next.
You don't.
Which is what makes it so exciting to watch.
Keeps us all on our toes.
Absolutely. And what's really cool about this match is that it connects to like the bigger picture of the Premier League.
Right. It's not just about this one result.
Yeah, it's about the whole season.
Exactly. It's about, who's going to win the title, who's going to qualify for those European spots, who's going to fight to avoid relegation.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
It all ties together. And I think it's safe to say that this match has shown that Arsenal are real contenders this season.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have the talent, the resilience, the tactics.
They can hang with the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe even more importantly, they've got that mental toughness to get through the tough moments. Yeah.
To overcome the challenges and still get the result, which I think is so important if you want to win a championship.
Oh, absolutely. You need that.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts after this deep dive where you just like, what is going on with these red cards?
Yeah. What did you think?
Do you think Arsenal need to bring in a new striker in January? What stood out to you the most about their performance?
Yeah, this match definitely generated a lot of discussion and analysis.
For sure.
And I think it's a great reminder that football is more than just a game.
Oh, yeah.
It brings up so much passion, so much controversy, and endless debate.
Totally. So as the Premier League season continues, keep your eye on Arsenal.
Oh, yeah.
They've made a statement with this win, and I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
For sure.
All right. That is going to do it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.